Madam Speaker, you are making this a very difficult debate. ZNBC reported this transaction.
The Honorable Member from Ghana, I don't want to curtail you.
What's up? My name is Hon Binwell, the MC with the sauce. Don't forget to subscribe to JCOO.
Further debate. The Honorable Member from Ghana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Planning and Budget Committee has reviewed the 2023 Annual Progress Report on the implementation of the 8th National Development Plan. Madam Speaker, I want to restrict my conversation around the report, page number 33, which speaks to the establishment of ZCCMIH as a government mining company under statutory regulation. Madam Speaker, the committee notes that the mining sector continues to be the backbone of the economy and a major contributor to the country's GDP and foreign exchange inflows. It is an undeniable fact, Madam Speaker, that Zambia has predominantly existed through the mining sector and the copper mining sector in that regard. This country has been mining for over 100 years, and government was a major player in the mining sector through ZCCM. Madam Speaker, there are a lot of lessons that have to be drawn from what happened in the days of ZCCM. Predominantly, ZCCM built Zambia. We who have grown up on the copper belt, almost all the towns on the copper belt were built by the mining company that was owned exclusively by government. Of course, there are lessons that have to be drawn. There was a lot of mismanagement that saw, the World Bank and IMF dictating to us through the structural adjustment program that we must let go of ZCCM or the participation of government in those mining companies. Many years down the line, Madam Speaker, we are asking ourselves, how has Zambia, which is so rich in mineral endowment, failed to harness this potential we have? That today we continue to go to beg or to go to bed with the same people that gave us conditions that saw us relinquish our stake in the mining sector. Interestingly, Madam Speaker, your committee today is making a recommendation that government must endeavor to have more stake in mining companies. Because when government has more stake in the mining companies, it will enable government to have efficient monitoring mechanism in how these mining companies are performing. Madam Speaker, there's been a revelation that has been made by many players, particularly from ZRA, that it has been very difficult and very proven that it is difficult to comprehensively audit and tax mining companies, particularly the copper mining companies. And for many years, these mining companies have been coming to beg or to entice government to give them concessions, to give them tax holidays, on the pretext that if you give them concessions and tax holidays, they are going to make more investments. It led to the UPND government making the infamous decision of making the mineral royalty deductible, on the promise that these, our cooperating partners, or these mining conglomerates, were going to make more meaningful investment in the mining sector. Alas, today as we speak, Madam Speaker, we haven't seen any meaningful investment in the mining sector. The opposite has been happening, where jobs are being lost when they actually promised that if we give them those concessions, they were going to employ more people. When this committee, Madam Speaker, is making a recommendation that government must have more stake in the mining sector, the UPND government is doing the opposite. We are the stake in FQM, the golden share. Government decided, the UPND government decided to convert that share into cash. Today, we don't even have any stake in FQM. This committee is making a recommendation that we must have more presence, more stake in the mining sector, because it will enable us to have more control. Mopani would have been a model mine because we owned it 100%. It would have been a model mine. Would have seen how these mining companies dupes us, because Mopani would have been a mirror mine where we would have been seeing how a mining company operates. Our friends makes a very reckless decision to give away Mopani 51% to a company they are calling IH. But in essence, it's not even IH, Madam Speaker. It's Delta. There is a report of fraud around that transaction. No wonder that did not come into this parliament, because people were trying to hide that fraudulent activity. Madam Speaker, enough of the copper mining. Madam Speaker, for me, I've always insisted that we've been duped around the copper mining sector. Why haven't we focused on these other mining facets? The committee makes mention of gold. Madam Speaker, ZCCM-IH established the Zambia Gold Company. The Zambia Gold Company was established exclusively to manage gold resources. As the PF were leaving power, Zambia Gold Company had already started processing gold bullions, and they were exclusively selling to the Bank of Zambia. I don't know whether that gold is still at the Bank of Zambia, but the idea of the Zambia Gold Company was to manage the gold resources. Today, Zambia has discovered gold in almost the entire country, starting from Kasenseli, all the way to Mpika, to Mukushi, all the way to...
Order. Honorable members, please, I'm so reluctant to take points of order because we have ministers who are going to respond. The honorable ministers, please take note of whatever is being said so that you respond. This is going to be the last point of order. We have to complete this report. There's another report that we didn't complete yesterday. So let us, as we debate, let's be focused to the report. The report is straightforward. If we didn't read it, please let's even avoid debating so that we are not off the report. Let us stick to the report. The honorable member for Chama South. That is the last point of order.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if you have noticed, I've decided to be a good listener in this House. Our standing orders are very clear that the information that we are providing on the floor of this House should not only be factual, but verifiable. The honorable member for Nkana has made a very, very disturbing revelation. And I will state it. He has indicated that Mopani sale to IH Holding is actually not even a sale to IH Holding, but Delta something. Meaning, he has actually stated that there is fraud. This is not a simple statement. Is he in a position to bring more information on the floor of this House? We are all interested in knowing, because we can't have a government that is involved in fraud. That is the accusation, and it's a serious accusation. Is he in a position to share more information with us honorable members so that we judge the government rightly? I seek your serious ruling, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member, I had guided to say we should stick to the report. How we found ourselves mentioning things which need evidence, we don't know. Can we please be focused? There's a report, very comprehensive report. The honorable member for Nkana, do you have evidence of what you said?
Madam Speaker, everybody on the left except for Mungandu knows what I'm talking about.
Honorable member for Nkana, I think you are not really answering me. I said, do you have evidence, not
Yes,
what
Madam Speaker.
Mungandu was talking, the Honorable Mungandu was talking about?
I
Let's move one
organize
step
that,
at a
Madam
time.
Speaker.
The Honorable Member Fonkana, if you don't have evidence, just withdraw that statement so that we make progress.
Madam
If
Speaker,
the evidence is not there,
Madam
just
Speaker,
withdraw, we make progress.
the partnership at Mopani is with Delta and not IRH. That's a fact. And that information I can present to you, Madam Speaker. It's in public domain. It's in public domain,
The
Madam
issue
Speaker.
of the fraud, Honorable Member. The Honorable Member Fonkana, since you don't have the evidence, just like the other member, was it the Honorable Member Forunte who didn't have evidence? I think just withdraw, we make progress. Sorry, it's just an example. Just withdraw. There are so many areas that you can debate
Madam Speaker,
about.
I will not withdraw this statement. I am very convinced of what I'm talking about. If you give me time, I'll present that information. I'm speaking to a report, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member Fonkana, we've got rules. If something requires evidence, you lay it on the table. We make progress. If you don't have it now, withdraw it, and then we make progress. Let's not waste time. We are behind time, Honorable Member Fonkana.
Madam Speaker, you are making this a very difficult debate. ZNBC reported this transaction.
The Honorable Member
public domain.
Fonkana, I don't want to curtail you. Just do like I'm saying so that you make progress.
Okay, I withdraw that aspect, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Just proceed.
Before I was interrupted by Mungandu, who is blank about what's happening in this country, I was talking to the issue of gold resources. And government through ZCCMIH established Zambia Gold Company to manage gold resources. There's gold dotted around the country, Madam Speaker, which must be harnessed for the betterment of this country. There's no way Zambia, 60 years of independence, we must be trotting to the IMF to borrow when we are endowed with all these gold resources, Madam Speaker. It speaks to prudency in the management of resources. I've always argued, Madam Speaker, I've always argued, when KK discovered emeralds, it declared Lufuanyama as a protected area because gold then became a resource that needs to be managed by government. What is wrong with us declaring gold, declaring sujite, and all these lucrative minerals to be state minerals so that they can be managed through special purpose vehicles like the Zambia Gold Company that was exclusively designed to manage this resource called gold for the betterment of our country. Some of the people, Madam Speaker, who are allowed in here today are the ones that have been making reckless decisions to an extent of allowing $2.5 billion being siphoned out of this country from the mining sector in Kansanshi. We must be prudent in the way we are managing our resources if Zambia is to regain its economic glory. Madam Speaker, I submit.
Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, J Cool, and turn on the notification bell, cause I'm gonna see you in the next video.